Alcohol makes us feel normal with ADHD. That is the easiest way that I can explain why people with ADHD are more likely to become an alcoholic than anyone else. There are a lot of research and studies out there. If you just do a basic Google search and go ADHD and alcohol addiction, you're going to find all these different articles written by doctors and psychiatrists and rehabs about the correlation between ADHD and alcohol. Alcohol is designed almost specifically for people with ADHD. Is the easiest way I could put it. I am a recovering alcoholic. My name is Eric. My drugs of choice were alcohol and cocaine. And I'm ADHD. I was originally diagnosed ADD at 13, re-diagnosed ADHD at 17, and no one ever told me about any of this. And I don't know if it would have changed me being an alcoholic or not. I doubt it would have, but maybe I would have respected alcohol a little bit differently. I don't know. And that's why I share for educational purposes only. I am not a doctor, psychiatrist, or a therapist. I'm very blunt about this. I just share from lived experience. So drinking alcohol, it makes us feel normal. Anyone with ADHD will tell you, 2 beers in me, man, I felt like everybody else. My brain wasn't constantly running. I slowed down and I felt normal. Like I felt like I could focus on conversation. I would be motivated. I would pick a single task and want to do that. And it wasn't like I was running all over the place. For once, I kind of felt calm and at peace. And that's a scary thing when it comes to alcohol to actually feel that way. And why we feel this way is alcohol itself produces dopamine. And that's one of the things I don't think a lot of people realize is when it comes to ADHD, my best explanation is imagine not wearing glasses and not being able to see, and the world is just blurry. And then all of a sudden you get glasses, you put it on, and the world is clear, and you can focus in on things, and you're not confused. Any of this. That's what dopamine does for our brain. It allows us to actually slow down and focus. Otherwise, our brain has like 100 computer tabs open, and it's looking all over for what's going to create dopamine for it. Well, alcohol does that. So now it hijacks our brain. And this is what it was like even for me. And most of the people I've talked to with ADHD, it was very similar to them. I have 1 or 2 beers, and next thing you know, you're energized. Like people will talk about having beers to unwind. I drank beers to kind of amp me up, and they would, or alcohol to amp me up because shots, whatever. And it wasn't the sugar in it, it was just the release of dopamine. So now all of a sudden, I'm energized, I feel good, but I'm also calmed down inside. I don't feel like I'm running inside. And I could listen and I'd be like, dude, if it was my day off, I'm going to clean or I'm going to go do this. And I'd be like motivated to do something. And next thing you know, now I could start doing it. The problem is this, that yes, it creates dopamine, suppresses our central nervous system, slows us all down, calms us down. It throws GABA and relaxes that. GABA is a stress hormone, if you didn't, or neurotransmitter. Um, Everything just is so relaxed, especially if you're unmedicated and you feel normal. But our brain hijacks itself, and that's the worst part about ADHD is our frontal precortex, right up here, it gets bypassed so easily. And so our brain goes into, I feel great, I feel normal, I don't want to lose this feeling. So what are we going to do? We're going to keep drinking. And the problem is we don't have an impulse control. We don't have a stop button. So we're going to start drinking more, and we're going to drink faster than everybody else. I would drink 2 to 3 drinks per one drink of anyone I ever drank with. And I just thought people drank slow. I didn't understand why they couldn't keep up. That's how I drank. So now I'm drinking just more and more, and my brain doesn't say, hey, we need to stop, and this feeling is good, it's going to last for a while. I was so afraid of losing that normal feeling, and my brain would be like, if we just drink more, it will last longer and it won't go away. And all that would end up happening is I'm getting drunker and drunker and drunker, and I couldn't stop. And that was one of the worst things ever, is that next thing you know, you're passed out, and I'd be blacking in and out, not eating, because I didn't realize my brain took over itself and hijacked itself and just drank all the alcohol. But that's how it is for a lot of times people with ADHD. It sucks. And next thing you know, we can't focus as well, and it's blurred lines, and all of our brain knows is going after this dopamine. And that's what hijacks our brain. And that's why alcohol is so dangerous for somebody with ADHD, especially unmedicated. Because even then, the next day you're going to wake up and maybe you have a hangover. Your brain doesn't think of the hangover. Your brain thinks of the focus you had. And you're like, man, so today I'm hungover. I wake up hungover. And instead of my brain as a logical person going, man, we shouldn't drink. That was not good. My brain goes, well, today we're going to do it different. That felt great. We had the focus. It's like I'm in a board meeting in my head. And my brain's going, hey, guys, we did really good from this period of time. So we need to do good the entire time. So here's what we're going to do different. And it's amazing how with ADHD, we're making bargains and all these conversations that go on in our head. And it's like, okay, well, I'm only going to I'll halt at this many drinks, or I'll halt here and I'll stop here, or I'll drink slower or time them out. As soon as that dopamine hits, we lose all control. We go right back to it. And that is that dopamine surge all of a sudden we hit. And we are just gun ho again. And we have no control. And that's the thing. It's not like people with ADHD don't have any kind of control. We do. We will subconsciously not realize it in a lot of cases because our brain is being led by dopamine so much. Because an ADHD brain does not produce dopamine like a normal person's brain. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter for the reward center of our brain, which is our driving force with ADHD. And when it comes to how this is in our brain, well, we don't produce it. Even if we're doing aldosterone and a lot of the amino acids and stuff out there that create dopamine, great, we still don't produce it and harness it quite right. And you can take, all these different supplements and zinc, and you can take, caffeine can help. Like there's so much out there. I'm on ADHD meds, and those can help, but it's because we don't produce dopamine correctly, and alcohol itself does, and even the act of alcohol itself produces dopamine eventually. And that's the problem, is because it's this massive surge of it, we're going right to it. And that's what makes it so difficult, and what a lot of people don't realize is why it is so hard for people with ADHD to control alcohol. We don't. We'll go through a 30 pack. Whatever alcohol we had, I drank. It was very rare for me to wake up the next day and find alcohol in my fridge or in my freezer, because I drank it all. I didn't know any better. My brain didn't know any better. And it wasn't that I'm weak or anything. It's how my brain would hijack itself because it loved that feeling. And that's what it was going after, is the basic necessity for dopamine. And this is a struggle for a lot of people with ADHD. And that's the thing I will always say, is like, this isn't an excuse to be an alcoholic, but this is a thing to be very aware about, and how it can lead to alcohol addiction very easily, because you just become very dependent on this. If you're new to my channel, by the way, hit the like and follow button. Comment your experience down below. I think it's really important for us to share our experiences, because that's what really helps a lot of people not feel alone, especially when we feel like it's ADHD. We are alone, and people don't really understand us. And like, is this really how my brain is? And we're trying to come up with excuses of why our brain isn't really this way, even though it is. And these are our common struggles. But ultimately, it comes down to realizing and understanding it, and fighting through a lot of this. This is where, like, you find what works for you to getting sober. I got sober 7/25/17. There's no right or wrong way of getting sober. It's your way. A big part of my sobriety, though, was going back to my psychiatrist, getting on my ADHD meds, and finding ways and tools to overcome these urges, even to go down the route of alcohol. I mean, hey, if you're struggling truly, go into rehab. I have Refine Recovery down below. They're great. Do inpatient treatment. You can do outpatient treatment. Download Sunflower Sober. I have the app down below tagged. Sunflower Sober is on iOS and Google Play. You have an AI sponsor for 24-hour sponsor support. You have journaling tools and community for support and resources. And you have tests and tools. Like, you have everything to get sober and stay sober. If you haven't tried Sunflower Sober, definitely try it. Go to an AA meeting, an NA meeting, an Al-Anon meeting. Go to all the meetings and then some. Don't give up, though, man, and find that right doctor and therapist. And what are we coping for? Because it is different for all of us. I mean, that's the thing when it comes to, yes, we can say ADHD is part of the reason why, we can get led into addiction so much easier than others. But it's not the only reason, and it's not an excuse. It's not an enabling excuse to be like, oh, well, they're ADHD, so that makes sense. They should be an alcoholic. No. Alcohol is one of those that, with us, can you drink normal? Maybe. I mean, my wife is diagnosed ADHD, and she can drink normal. I just can't. And I don't know why. But I don't care, because I do love my life. And I will say this, that when you find other ways to naturally produce dopamine or to create dopamine, it makes your life a lot easier. And again, having clarity. Remember that there is no normal. I mean, that was the hardest thing, is when I felt normal, and that there is no normal. Thinking that I'm normal because this is how I drink. I drink now and I feel slowed down to everybody else. I am who I am. And I started to, part of it's really actually getting to kind of love yourself and realizing how you are is how you are, and that's okay. So I don't know how many other people struggle with this. This is something very common if you do struggle with it. Hopefully, this has answered a question for some people out there, because this is why I think it's so important to get diagnosed. Is being diagnosed doesn't mean, oh, you got to get on meds and all this. It's also, what do you need to be aware of in life, and how does things affect you differently if you have a diagnosis such as ADHD or not, and to be aware of some certain challenges that might arise, because there's also a lot of benefits to ADHD, but there are challenges like this. And that's what it's about, man, knowing that you're not alone. For the one out there going through it right now and fighting for their sobriety, like, I'm proud of you. It is a battle, it is a fight, it's one day at a time. If I can get sober, you can get sober. I believe in you. Just don't give up and keep pushing forward, and remember to find what works and keep going at it. I am proud of you, man. I believe in you.